If you're a man over the age of 60, there's something important you need to hear, and it might surprise or even upset you, because some of the vegetables you've believed were healthy your whole life could be contributing to a decline in your energy, your confidence, and even your ability to perform sexually. This isn't an exaggeration. It's something I've seen repeatedly with my patients, men who mean well, making what they think are smart dietary choices, but paying a steep price when it comes to their vitality. I'm Dr. Edward Kane, a men's health specialist and urologist with more than 3 decades of experience helping older men reclaim their strength and drive. And today, I want to tell you something that many doctors won't, not because they don't care, but because most simply aren't aware. What if some of the vegetables on your plate are slowly limiting blood flow, disrupting hormone levels, and quietly speeding up sexual aging? The science is solid, and once you understand what's really going on, you'll never look at these foods the same way again. Stick with me, because in just a moment, I'll reveal 5 vegetables that could be harming your erections after 60 and how you can start turning things around immediately. But before we get into that, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any essential health updates designed specifically for men like you. And if what I'm sharing connects with you, drop a 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to type 0. Your feedback helps us serve you better each time. All right, now, let's dive into what you came here to learn. The first vegetable on this list might seem like a smart choice, one you've always assumed was good for your health. But for men over 60, it could be quietly eroding your testosterone levels and making it harder to perform like you used to. Let's take a closer look at soy-based vegetables. I want to tell you about a man named Gerald, a retired fire chief from Illinois, 67 years old, proud grandfather, and someone who walked into my office after dealing with some troubling symptoms for more than a year. He told me, "Doc, I've cut out red meat, I exercise, I eat clean, so why am I still feeling so tired? Why is my sex drive gone?" And when we reviewed his diet, one thing stood out. Soy was everywhere. Soy milk at breakfast, tofu in stir-fries, edamame for snacks. He genuinely thought he was doing everything right. But here's the truth that most men never hear. Soy can work against you, especially after 60. Soy-based vegetables like tofu, soy sprouts, and edamame contain a compound known as phytoestrogens. These are plant chemicals that act similarly to estrogen in your body. And if you're a man already facing natural testosterone decline, introducing more estrogen-like compounds into your system can further disrupt your hormonal balance. It's subtle, but powerful, gradually shifting things in the wrong direction without you even realizing it. There were no warning signs, no sharp pains, just a slow, quiet decline in his sexual performance. What Gerald didn't know, and what most men his age are rarely told, is that these minor hormonal shifts take on far greater significance after 60. Your body isn't as adaptable as it once was. Testosterone doesn't recover the way it used to, and the delicate hormonal balance that governs everything from your energy to your mood and ability to perform it can be thrown off by something as simple as what's on your dinner plate. But once Gerald eliminated soy-based foods from his diet and replaced them with nutrients that support male hormones, the changes came quickly. Within just a few weeks, his stamina improved. Morning erections returned, and I'll never forget the day he sat in my office, eyes welling up, and shared that he and his wife had finally been intimate again. No medications, no pressure, just natural connection, the way it used to be. That's the difference the right foods can make at the right stage of life. I'm sharing Gerald's experience not because it's rare, but because I've seen it time and time again. We're told to eat more plants, and in general, that's good advice. But no one ever explains that the kind of plants you eat should shift as you get older. That's the difference between staying vital into your 70s or slowly losing strength without knowing why. Now let's be clear. Soy isn't inherently harmful. If you're 30, active and hitting the gym, a bit of soy won't do much harm. But if you're in your 60s or 70s, already facing lower testosterone and sluggish circulation, soy-based vegetables can tip the scale in the wrong direction. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, about listening to what your body really needs. not what food marketing claims is healthy. So if you've been choosing soy, thinking it's the smart move, don't blame yourself. You were doing what you thought was right. But now, you know better. And that means you can make smarter choices from this point on. Up next, we're going to look at another group of vegetables that are likely in your kitchen right now. They seem harmless. They're salty, convenient, and often sold as heart-healthy. But behind the label, they're quietly damaging your circulation and speeding up the decline of the very function you're trying to protect. I'll show you exactly what they are and why they're more dangerous than you think. That brings me to another common culprit I see again and again: vegetables that look innocent because they're easy to prepare, but they gradually wear down the blood vessels that keep erections possible. Let me introduce you to Frank, a 72-year-old retired Navy vet from Georgia. A no-nonsense guy, Frank spent 4 decades working hard, staying fit, and even now, he chops wood behind his house just to stay active. When Frank visited my clinic, he shared something he never thought he'd say out loud. "Doc, I feel like I still have the drive, but my body just doesn't respond." On paper, everything looked fine. He didn't smoke, only drank occasionally, and walked a few miles every morning. But once we dug into his diet, something stood out right away: canned vegetables. Pickled beets, jarred sauerkraut, canned green beans. Not because he craved them, but because they were convenient. "It's just easier than cooking every night," he told me. And that's exactly where the trouble was hiding. These packaged vegetables are packed with sodium far more than older bodies need. And too much sodium isn't just about high blood pressure. It harms the endothelium, the thin, sensitive layer that lines your blood vessels. Once that lining becomes inflamed or rigid, blood flow suffers, including in the smallest vessels that supply your penis. Let's be clear. Erections rely entirely on good circulation. Without steady, unblocked blood flow, it simply won't happen. And sodium stiffens your arteries quietly. There's no warning, no pain. Just a slow change until one morning, you notice things aren't as firm, you're not lasting as long, or you feel the urge but your body doesn't follow through. That was Frank's experience. And he's far from the only one. I've seen the same story repeated in dozens of men, disciplined, proactive, and unaware that their go-to meals were silently hurting them. But once he swapped those sodium-heavy veggies for fresh, potassium-rich choices like sautéed spinach, steamed zucchini, or roasted bell peppers, everything began to shift. His blood pressure dropped within weeks. More importantly, he said he felt reconnected. His morning erections returned. And so did a sense of control he hadn't felt in years. Because at the heart of this isn't just performance, it's identity. It's about feeling like yourself again. When your body doesn't cooperate, it chips away at your confidence. But here's the good news: your body is capable of bouncing back. It just needs the right environment to heal. So take a good look in your pantry. What are you really keeping on those shelves? Are those quick and easy canned veggies worth the silent cost? Because while they might save you time, they may be stealing something far more important: your circulation, your intimacy, and your self-worth. And now, let's talk about a vegetable you almost certainly have in your kitchen. It's baked, mashed, fried, and served at nearly every meal in America. But this one too could be quietly aging your arteries and sabotaging your vitality. But the truth is, it spikes your blood sugar so aggressively that the effect on your blood vessels mimics what we often see in men with diabetes. And yes, it interferes with your ability to get and maintain an erection in more ways than you might think. In just a moment, I'll tell you exactly what this common vegetable is and how to swap it for something that actually supports both your energy and your performance. Stay tuned. While we're talking about familiar foods that come with hidden risks, there's one vegetable that nearly every man over 60 has eaten for decades, but it's quietly chipping away at your sexual health without you even realizing it. Let me introduce you to Walter, a 69-year-old former trucker from rural Minnesota. Straightforward, hardworking, devoted to his wife of over 40 years. When he walked into my office, he looked me straight in the eye and said, "Doctor, I'm not chasing miracles. I just want to feel like myself again." He wasn't asking for a prescription. He didn't want a shortcut. He simply wanted to reconnect physically and emotionally with the woman he loved. What stood out most about Walter was his honesty. He wanted to fix things the right way through healthier habits, smarter eating, and learning what his body really needed. And when we took a closer look at his daily meals, one thing became immediately clear. White potatoes, nearly every day, hash browns for breakfast, fries on the road, mashed potatoes at dinner. It was so routine, he never gave it a second thought. And why would he? Potatoes are affordable, familiar, and they've been on dinner plates across America for generations. But here's the part no one talks about and something Walter had never been told. White potatoes, especially in fried or processed form, are among the highest glycemic foods you can eat. That means they cause your blood sugar to surge rapidly. And when blood sugar spikes, insulin follows, putting stress on your cardiovascular system, creating inflammation, and slowly harming the very vessels and nerve pathways that control sexual response. In younger men, the body can often absorb that kind of hit and bounce back. But after 60, the recovery isn't so quick, and the damage adds up. Over time, those spikes contribute to rigid blood vessels, lower nitric oxide levels, and reduced sensitivity, all of which directly impact your ability to function in the bedroom. This is why so many men say they still feel the desire, but their body doesn't respond, not because they've lost interest, but because the connection between brain, blood, and body has been compromised. When Walter heard this, he was taken aback. "Nobody ever told me a potato could wreck my sex life," he said, half laughing. But there was frustration in his voice. He felt like he'd been following the rules and still ended up struggling. So we made some practical changes. We replaced the white potatoes with sweet potatoes, which are lower on the glycemic index, rich in antioxidants, and far better for supporting healthy blood flow. Instead of reaching for fries, he started roasting sweet potato wedges with a little olive oil. For comfort meals, he mashed them with garlic and a spoonful of Greek yogurt instead of cream and butter. The changes didn't happen overnight, but they came gradually and meaningfully. First, Walter noticed that his energy stayed more stable throughout the day. Then, his mood began to lift. But the real turning point came one morning when he told me, with a grin, that he had woken up with a strong, natural erection, something he hadn't experienced in over a year. He chuckled, glanced down, and said, "I thought he'd gone into retirement. Turns out, he was just running on bad fuel." And that's really what all of this comes down to: giving your body the kind of nourishment it needs to thrive. Fuel that supports your blood vessels, balances your hormones, and helps you feel fully alive, not just going through the motions. I understand it's not easy to challenge the foods you've trusted for a lifetime. Making a change requires courage. But I'll tell you what's harder: waking up in a few years feeling even more detached, more discouraged, and wondering if there's still time to fix it. There is still time if you take action now. Because every bite you take today is shaping how your body performs tomorrow. And if white potatoes caught you off guard, the next vegetable might truly surprise you. It's often celebrated for its versatility and rich taste. You've likely had it grilled, fried, stewed, or baked under layers of sauce. But here's the catch: it soaks up oil like a sponge. And that one trait can quietly trigger inflammation and dull your performance before you even realize it. Let's talk about it. Now we turn to a vegetable that seems harmless, even sophisticated, but when prepared the wrong way, it can become one of the sneakiest threats to male vitality. That brings me to Leonard, a 74-year-old retired music teacher from New Jersey. Thoughtful, soft-spoken, and deeply committed to his wife of nearly 5 decades. He came into my clinic for what he gently called a quality of life tune-up. His way of saying, "Doc, things aren't quite working anymore, and I'd like to change that while I still can." What I admired most about Leonard was his openness. He wasn't embarrassed. He just wanted clarity. So we talked. Not just about symptoms, but about his lifestyle, his meals, his routines, his favorite foods. And soon enough, one pattern stood out: eggplant. He loved it. Grilled, sautéed, fried, layered into casseroles, drenched in sauces. Eggplant was a staple in his kitchen. Now here's what many men don't realize. Eggplant itself isn't the issue. On its own, it's low in calories and contains valuable nutrients like fiber and antioxidants. But the real danger lies in how it's usually prepared. Eggplant acts like a sponge. It soaks up oil quickly, and often the kind used isn't heart-friendly. Whether it's fried in vegetable oil or cooked with canola, it typically brings in a heavy dose of omega-6 fats. And when omega-6 levels go unchecked, they drive chronic inflammation. And inflammation? It's one of the biggest enemies of sexual performance, something we'll get into next. Excess inflammation doesn't just cause discomfort, it interferes with a crucial process, the production of nitric oxide. This is the chemical messenger your body uses to relax and expand blood vessels, allowing blood to flow freely, especially to areas like the penis. Without that signal, desire may still be there, but your body doesn't respond. For many men, that leads to confusion, frustration, and a quiet sense of defeat. For Leonard, this was a major wake-up call. He'd never imagined that something as comforting as his favorite eggplant parmesan could be undermining him so directly. He looked at me, half laughing, and said, "Doc, I thought I was eating heart-healthy Mediterranean food. Turns out, I was frying my sex life without knowing it." But we didn't eliminate eggplant from his life. Instead, we simply adjusted how it was prepared. I suggested he roast or grill it with a drizzle of extra virgin olive oil, rather than deep frying it, and use fresh herbs, garlic, and tomato instead of heavy, oily sauces. The changes were simple, but the results were powerful. His blood work showed a reduction in inflammation markers, and within weeks, he shared that his morning erections were returning along with a renewed sense of energy. In his words, "I feel like something inside me is waking up again, like there's movement where there wasn't before." This is what most men are never told. It's not always the ingredient itself that causes the problem, it's the method of preparation. What we think of as healthy can become harmful when paired with the wrong oils, excessive heat, or processed additions. And over time, those small decisions add up, taking a toll on your circulation, your hormone balance, and your ability to respond. Leonard's journey shows that you don't have to give up the foods you love. You just need to learn how to support your body instead of working against it. After 60, the margin for error gets smaller, but the potential for improvement is still very real. And if eggplant caught you off guard, the next one might hit even closer to home. It's everywhere, served at summer cookouts, blended into soups, turned into snacks. It looks innocent, even cheerful, but it plays havoc with your blood sugar, disrupts hormone function, and feeds the belly fat that turns your testosterone into estrogen. If you're serious about holding on to your masculinity, you need to know what's coming next. Let's dive into it. Now, let's talk about a vegetable so ingrained in American culture that most men don't give it a second thought. But if you're past 60, it could be quietly undermining your vitality in more ways than you realize. That brings us to Thomas, a 66-year-old retired school principal from Iowa. The kind of man people relied on, steady, respected, and admired. But when he came to see me, he didn't feel like himself. He was drained, sluggish, and increasingly disappointed by how much his drive and performance had faded. Thomas sat across from me and said, "The desire is still there, Doc, but my body's not following through. It's like the engine's running, but the fuel line's blocked." We walked through his daily diet. He wasn't indulging in fast food. He wasn't overeating. He'd even reduced his alcohol intake. But one thing kept showing up again and again: corn. Corn on the cob with dinner. Corn tortillas with lunch. Corn chips in the evening. It wasn't something he thought twice about. It was just a regular part of his meals. Familiar, convenient, and easy to find. Here's where most men get blindsided. Corn today, especially in its processed forms, isn't the same wholesome food it once was. Most of it is genetically modified, high in starch, low in nutrition, and quick to spike blood sugar, almost on par with white bread. That blood sugar surge triggers insulin resistance, fuels inflammation, and damages the fragile blood vessels essential for strong erections. But that's only part of the story. Corn-based foods, especially chips, syrups, and tortillas, also encourage belly fat. And here's the critical detail most men never hear. Abdominal fat isn't just extra weight. It acts like an endocrine organ. It literally converts testosterone into estrogen. Let that sink in. The more belly fat you carry, the more your natural testosterone is being turned into estrogen, a hormone that weakens your strength, dulls your libido, lowers your confidence, and compromises sexual performance. When I explained this to Thomas, he leaned back and let out a long breath. I never thought corn could mess with my hormones. I figured it was just food. That moment stayed with me because Thomas isn't alone. Millions of men are unknowingly working against their bodies with everyday ingredients that seem harmless. So we made a plan. Out went the corn chips, the tortillas, the syrup. In came fiber-rich, blood sugar-friendly foods like quinoa, lentils, spinach, and cruciferous vegetables. At first, it was tough. Corn had been part of his diet for decades, but within a few weeks, he had more energy. His mind felt sharper. And when I checked in on how things were going in the bedroom, he grinned and said, "Let's just say I'm feeling a lot more confident these days." This isn't about chasing perfection. It's about being informed. Once you understand what certain foods are doing to your system, you're no longer stuck in the dark. You can make choices that work with your body, not against it. No, eliminating corn won't solve every issue overnight. But if your meals are quietly sabotaging your hormones and blood flow, day after day, the impact builds up. So does the frustration. You deserve better. You deserve a body that feels strong, responsive, and aligned with your intentions, not one that's silently holding you back. And often, that transformation starts with awareness. Now that we've walked through the 5 worst vegetables for men over 60, you might be wondering, what should you eat instead? Which habits truly support stronger blood flow, better hormonal health, and more vitality as you age? Let's explore that next. That's exactly where we're headed next, because cutting out the harmful foods is only part of the picture. What truly matters is what you start doing today, the choices, the shifts, the habits that set the stage for real strength, real recovery, and lasting confidence. And in just a moment, I'll guide you through the exact steps, what to eat, what to change, and how to start building back your vitality from the inside out. Now that we've uncovered the 5 vegetables that could be silently holding you back, it's time to talk about what will move you forward. What actions you can take right now to restore your energy, your self-respect, and your ability to perform like the man you know you still are. There's a moment I see often, and it never gets old. It's the moment a man stops seeing himself as a victim of age and starts reclaiming ownership of his health. Because here's the truth. Your body might be older, but it still responds. It still listens, and it still wants to work for you. It just needs the right support. One of my favorite examples is Gerald, 71 years old. He reached out after watching one of my online talks. He told me he was skeptical but curious. Over the years, he'd tried it all: pills, supplements, even a few late-night miracle solutions. Nothing stuck. But the idea that food something as fundamental and within reach as what he put on his plate could change everything, that sparked something. We kept it practical. No crash diets, no overwhelming systems, just straightforward changes. First, we removed the 5 biggest culprits we've discussed. Then, we started building meals that actually support a man's biology after 60. We loaded up on leafy greens like arugula and spinach, rich in natural nitrates that support blood vessel health and promote stronger circulation. We added healthy fats from avocado, extra virgin olive oil, and wild-caught fish to calm inflammation and aid hormone balance. We made sure his meals included zinc-rich foods like pumpkin seeds and a moderate amount of lean red meat to naturally nudge testosterone levels upward. And just as important, we dialed back the sugar and processed carbs, the quiet enemies of blood flow and hormonal balance. But it wasn't just about what he ate. We also reintroduced movement, nothing intense, just daily walks, light stretching, and gentle activity to keep his blood moving. We made space for better sleep, consistent hydration, and even took time to reconnect with purpose, because a man's sense of vitality isn't only physical, it's deeply emotional. When he feels needed, respected, and present in his life, his body responds in kind. 3 months later, Gerald walked through my door looking like a different man. His energy was lighter. His shoulders weren't slumped anymore. And when I asked how things were going behind closed doors, he gave a knowing grin and said, "Let's just say my wife owes you a thank you." That's the possibility I want you to hold on to, not because it's wishful thinking, but because it's entirely real. You are not beyond progress. You are not too old to take control. And you are absolutely not without power. Step 1. Remove the things quietly working against you. Eliminate the foods that restrict your blood flow, weaken your testosterone, and confuse your hormonal balance. Step 2. Fuel your body with what it truly needs: nutrient-dense food, consistent movement, and real rest. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be deliberate. Every day you postpone change is another day your body continues down a path that leaves you depleted. But every small improvement you make this week, this month, compounds. And this isn't just about stronger erections. It's about greater energy, a clearer mind, stronger relationships, and that grounded feeling of being fully you again. So don't wait. You've stayed with me this far. That tells me you care, and you're ready to take action. Up next, I want to share something more personal. A lesson I've learned after over 3 decades of guiding men through this stage of life. Because while nutrition can change your body, there's something even more critical for lasting strength and self-respect. And I'd like to share that with you. Stay with me. Before we wrap up, let me leave you with something from the heart. A truth I've seen again and again, working with men across all backgrounds and all seasons of life. Something changes after 60. The way others see you begins to shift. People speak a little slower. They offer help you didn't ask for. They assume you're coasting toward the finish line. And look, in some parts of life, that's okay. You've earned some ease. You've earned perspective, quiet, and time for yourself. But one thing you don't have to surrender is your fire, your vitality. That inner sense of strength, that part of you is still alive. And I say this not just as a doctor, but as someone who has walked beside thousands of men who feared they were fading, not just physically, but emotionally. Men who felt they were losing more than function. They were losing connection to themselves, their quiet confidence, that deep pride in still being able to show up not just for a partner, but for themselves. What you've learned here today might have surprised you. Some of the foods you trusted, soy, canned vegetables, white potatoes, eggplant, and corn, may actually be contributing to the exact problems you're trying to fix. Not because they're evil or dangerous in a clickbait way, but because they no longer align with what your body needs in this chapter of life, especially when it comes to blood flow, hormone balance, and maintaining healthy, vibrant intimacy. We've talked about Richard, James, Gerald, Leonard, Thomas, Walter, 6 different men from 6 different walks of life, all dealing with the same quiet challenge. Maybe as you listened, you saw a little of yourself in one of the stories I shared. And that's exactly why I told them, you're not alone in this, and you don't have to navigate these challenges in silence. Here's what I hope you take away. Aging isn't the same as giving up. It's not about watching your energy fade or drifting apart from your partner. It's about becoming wiser, more intentional, and more in tune with what your body really needs and what it no longer benefits from. If some of the vegetables you've been eating are working against you, that doesn't mean you failed. It simply means you were doing your best with advice that wasn't designed for this phase of life. But now you're informed, and when you know better, you can do better. Start small. Swap that canned food for something fresh. Pick sweet potatoes over processed fries. Grill your eggplant instead of soaking it in oil. Ease back on the corn, and you'll start to notice shifts. Less belly fat, more hormonal balance, better circulation. These aren't drastic changes, but they're powerful. And over time, they make a real difference. I've said it many times, and I'll say it again now. Your body still responds. It's just waiting on you. Waiting for a signal that says, I'm ready to get back in the game. And believe me, it will answer. I've worked with men well into their 60s, 70s, even 80s, who made simple changes and experienced powerful results. Stronger intimacy, more consistent energy, deeper sleep, and perhaps, most importantly, a renewed sense of confidence and control over their lives. So, take a deep breath. Let go of the old narrative that says decline is inevitable. You can take back your vitality, your strength, your sense of self, because this journey isn't about being flawless. It's about facing forward. Every decision you make from here on either supports your manhood or slowly chips away at it. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for caring enough about your health and your future to stay engaged, stay curious, and keep showing up for yourself. And if this message struck a chord with you, if you felt understood, encouraged, or even just seen, I invite you to stay connected. There's so much more to uncover, and we'll take it step by step, together. Your best years aren't behind you, they're still within reach. They just need the right foundation, and they begin with what you choose to do next. Before you head out, I want to say one more thing. If today's message gave you a sense of clarity, or even just a little hope, I'd be grateful if you'd help spread that hope to others. Click the like button. It helps more men find this video, especially those who may be struggling quietly and need to hear this message. If you know someone, a brother, a friend, a partner, a father who could benefit from hearing the truth about these common health mistakes, please share this video. You never know the impact a simple conversation can have. And if you'd like to keep learning with honest, practical guidance about men's health, aging well, and restoring your vitality, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I post new videos every week, created just for men like you. Lastly, if you believe in this mission and want to help keep this content free and available to others, consider making a small donation to support the channel. It makes a real difference. Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing to care for yourself. You matter far more than you realize.